Hey everyone, welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be doing some camera improvements, which is going to allow us to also be able to implement a camera shake. So when our player takes damage, the camera's going to shake a little bit to give it more of an effect, more of a cool effect for when our player's taking damage. This will also be able to be applied if there's any environmental explosions that are happening that we want the screen to shake. We can use this camera shake effect. So let's get into it. First things first, we need to go into all of our scenes and all of our levels, and we need to delete the camera 2D off of our player. So we're going to be updating this so that our camera is actually going to be a part of our player scene, not a part of our player node from within a level. So let's update these. Okay, now we can go back into our player. And we are going to add a child node of camera 2D. Just going to bring this up to the top, and I'm going to name this player camera. We want to attach our script to it, so make sure you attach the player camera script to our player camera. We're also going to make this an onReady variable within our player. Okay, now we can go back into our camera script, and we're going to need to make some changes. We're no longer going to be exporting a tile map. We're going to get this dynamically or programmatically from within our player. So in order to do from within our camera. So in order for us to do this, we need to, we're going to get rid of this. We're no longer going to need a variable that we're passing in or an argument into our set camera limits method. But we're going to make some changes here. So we need to find the current level and the current node. We're going to be walking up the scene tree to make sure that we're finding the proper tile map. So we're going to need to do current node, type node, is going to equal self. So we're getting our, no, not self-modulate, self. So we're getting our camera. And then we're going to get level, which is of type level. Okay. We do while current node. So while there is a current node, if current node is level, level equals current node. And then we break out of this loop. If not level, we return, so we didn't find a level. Then we need to go try and find the tile map. So var tile map, it's going to be of type tile map layer. And for child in level.getChildren, if child is tile map layer, tile map equals child, and then we break out of here. Okay, if not tile map, we return. And now we're going to get our used rect. So used rect, which is going to be a rect 2i, and it's going to equal our tile map dot get used rect, which we were doing that previously to get our camera bounds. Now we're just going to update our limit left, limit right, and limit bottom. Everything can stay the same. We're just going to update rect to be used rect. Okay, so now that that's done, we have two more things that we have to do before this will work as it did before. We need to go back up to our ready, and we need to do an await getTree dot process frame, and then we need to add one more thing to this while loop. So right now I forgot to reassign the current node to get the parent. So we need to make sure we're getting the parent so that we can actually get the tile map that we want. We want to get the parent node, which is going to be our scene. So then we can actually try and find the tile map layer from within it. Now if we go back and play it, everything is just as normal as it was before. So we've changed our camera implementation, but the functionality of it is still the same right now. Okay, so now let's work on the camera shake implementation. And in order to do this, we're going to create a new file. We're going to create a file. I'm going to call this utils, This is not going to be a class, or it's not going to extend anything. It's just going to be a class name called utils. And what we're going to do is just house an enum here and a constant here that we're going to want reference to throughout a number of files. I just am putting them in here to separate them from the files where we're going to be using them. It's just going to make the files not as long and look a little bit cleaner. So the first thing that we're going to be doing in this file is creating an enum called shake type. From within here, we're going to do small, medium, big, explosion, and earthquake. Based on which shake type is chosen, they're going to get specific types of effects, right? Like a small is going to have less noticeable shaking of the camera than an earthquake. So we just want to give ourselves set up for down the road. So if you want to apply different types of shakes, you'll be all set up. So now we need to create the constant of shake configs, which is going to be of a type dictionary. This is going to be a little long, so just kind of bear with me as I'm typing through this, but shake type, so we're referencing our enum dot small is going to, we're going to give it another dictionary, and we're going to look for the offset. These are the things inside of these dictionaries are going to be values that we're going to be setting to that are going to affect our camera shake. So we're going to be referencing offset, reduction, and frequency later in our implementation of the camera shake. So this is going to be equal to a vector 2 of 8.0 and 6.0. The reduction is going to be a float of 7.0, and frequency is going to be 50. Expected initializer after, I forgot an equal sign here. Okay, so this is our first one. I'm going to do a time lapse of me just typing in the rest of these. Feel free to pause it at the end so you can catch up. Okay, so now that we're done with that, we need to actually go implement some stuff inside of our player camera that's going to handle the shake. We're going to save this, go back into our player camera. Okay, so in order to do some of the things that I wanted to do inside of our player camera, we also need to make the player camera a scene. So we're going to save this branch as a scene, as a player camera, into our scenes player. Where is our player camera? It's inside of player. Yep, okay, here. So now we have this scene. Not really going to do anything in it, but we do want to have the scene. So I can demonstrate inside of our player camera, we're going to use something called an export group. It's similar to the export category, but you'll see the difference once I add stuff here. Okay, so now when I click in here, let's add one more export variable so we can see what this is going to do. We're going to do an export range 0.0, 10.0, and then increments of 0.1. We call this var. It's going to be trauma reduction. And we're going to default this to a float at 6.0. And this is going to affect how quickly the shake effect fades out. And so now you can see over here, when we did category, they were all listed, but now everything under shake settings is going to be more kind of like a drop down. So we're going to use that. Now we're going to do an export variable of max offset. It's going to be a vector 2 equal vector 2 8.0 6.0. Okay. I need vector 2. And what the offset is going to do is going to determine the maximum distance the camera can move during the shake. Okay. The next export variable we're going to do is also going to be a range, and it's going to be 0.0 up to 100 in increments of 1. We're going to call this shake frequency, a float, and we're going to default it to 45. Okay. Now you can see all of these things are export variables, and the increments are here as well. So that's, we're incrementing by 1, so any of the arrows are going to increment our shake frequency by 1. Now we're also going to need to create a variable called trauma, which is a float, and that's going to default at 0.0. So trauma is going to control the intensity of the shake effect, which we want to be between 0 and 1, and a higher the trauma is going to be a stronger shake. So in order for us to do this, we're going to be doing something for the first time in this project where we're going to be using a set and a get method. So to implement a set, we have to end this with a colon. We're going to go down, set. We're going to set the value. We're going to set trauma equal to clamp f, which is a clamp float on our value, and we're making sure that it's going to be between 0 and 1. Okay. Now we also want to get, so to do the get, just return trauma. Okay. We're also going to need a time, which is going to be a float. It's going to be 0.0. And we're going to need this for our shake calculations, which you will see as we further implement this. Let me close this debugger. Okay. So now the next thing that we're going to do is we need to create a method down here. We're going to call this func apply shake. I'm just not going to return anything, not passing in anything, and we are going to do a new variable called shake intensity. It's going to be of a float. We're going to do pow trauma 2.0. So we're squaring the trauma for a smoother fallout when we're at a lower intensity. So that's what the POW is going to do for us. We're going to create another variable called offset x, which is a float. That's going to equal the max offset x times the shake intensity times sine time times pi times 0.7. Okay. So this is going to calculate an offset. It's just some math stuff I don't fully understand as well, but it's going to help us create a more organic and non-repeating shake. We also have to do this for our y, and it's going to be more or less the same thing. So I'm going to copy this, except we're going to do on the y here, and we're also going to have a different value over here. Okay. All right. We need one more variable. It's going to be a variable called rotation. This is a float. I'm going to do offset x times 0.02. And we're adding a slight rotation to our camera shake effect to hopefully give it a more dynamic feel. And then at the end of this, we want to assign our offset, which is going to be part of our camera 2D. And we're going to assign this to a vector 2. And it's going to take in our offset x and our offset y. Our rotation degrees is going to equal our rotation. Okay. We need to add another method called add trauma. It's going to take in an amount of type float. Okay. And all we're going to be doing here is trauma plus equals amount. I need to spell this properly though. Okay. One more method. I'm going to do func. It's going to be configure shake. We're taking in a shake type, which is why we made that utils file, and it's going to be of utils shake type. So this is nice. We can access that from within here. It's going to be a void. We're not returning anything. We need to get a config variable here. It's going to be of type dictionary. It's going to equal our utils.shake configs, and then we're going to pass in the shake type so we can access in that shake configs dictionary the exact things that we want. That's why we were setting up all 5 or 6 of those different dictionaries in our shake configs. Because now we can just do max offset is going to equal our config offset. Our trauma reduction is going to equal our config reduction, and our shake frequency is going to equal our config frequency. Okay, and that should about do it for our player camera script. But now we actually have to go and implement this into our player. All this shake stuff is nice, but if we don't make our player's camera shake on damage, it's not going to do anything. So we're going to go back into our player script, and we can go down to when we're taking damage, right? So now that we have the onReady variable of our player camera, we can access that. So we're going to go into our player camera. No, not that one, the variable. We're going to configure the shake, and we're going to do utils shake type. I'm going to do medium. I mean, a general hit doesn't need to shake the entire screen, but we're also going to add a little trauma to this as well. I need to add trauma. We're going to just do 0.6. You can pull these out as export variables or variables, so you can change them if you want, or as a constant so that you can set these on the player. But I'm just going to hard code these for right now. So let's play this and see what this actually looks like. Okay, nothing is happening right now, so I didn't configure something correctly. Let me think about this real quick. Of course. Okay, so we need a process function inside of our inside of our player camera. Okay, we weren't actually applying the shake anywhere, so you know it's a pretty important step for us to skip over. You know, if we want this to actually work, we need to have a process method so we can apply the shake. So we're going to be looking for if trauma. We're going to get a variable of old trauma, a float. It's going to equal the trauma. Then we're going to do trauma equals max f of trauma minus trauma reduction times delta or 0. So the higher ones of those. And then we're going to do time plus equals delta times shake frequency. And then we apply shake. Now this will work, hopefully. There you go. Okay, cool. You see it's a small shake, but I think it adds like a nice little effect to our player taking a little bit of damage, right? I think that's nice. Okay, but that wraps up this tutorial. Feel free to make changes to any of these values to, you know, go nuts, make them a lot stronger, or whatever you want to do with them. In the next video, we're going to be focusing on some more UI elements. I think what we're going to be doing is adding a health bar. We're going to make sure that we're restarting a current level on a death, and we're going to add a layer so that when our player falls, if he falls to his death, we're going to account for that as well. It's just going to be an instant death when he reaches a certain point on the y-axis. So stay tuned for those.